Whoa, where am I? New recording space. Not bad. It's comfy. Have a nice little armrest. Forgot to bring a drink. But that's okay. So, for anyone who doesn't know who I am, hi, my name is Poe, or Peeled Open, and I figured I'd do a small podcast on basically how build a story, like how build a world, and all that fun stuff. So the only reason why I actually feel like making this is to actually explain like a few things that, in my opinion, are kind of lost when people do make their worlds, because you don't want to end up with like a little bit of a plot hole, or like what's wrong with this, or that doesn't make sense when you're building up your world and your lore for your world, because that is always a common thing that I actually do see in games and stories that I've helped correct and proofread a few times, where it's like, okay, so this character hates this character for this reason, but it's not because of their alignment. They don't hate each other but because of their alignment, even though you say they hate the opposing alignment so much. It's just something that you wouldn't really think about until someone does look at it and go like, hey, how come this isn't this? So that's why I've kind of figured I'd make this. So, like, the first thing that's always obvious whenever you're making your world is the genre. So, um, so like whenever you kind of have your genre, it's like what is actually possible, what is there, what isn't there. That's always the thing with genre. So if you pick fantasy, like, cool, you have monsters, you have dragons, you have magic, you have what have you of like anything from a fantasy world or can make into a fantasy world. And that's always pretty neat to do because it allows you to actually go in, pick out what you want for it, and take out what you don't want. So it's kind of like a sandwich in a way where you can just put in what you want and leave out what you don't want. And it goes for all the other genres too, like if you're doing sci-fi or sci-fi fantasy or what have you. Your world will be based around what you want to be put in. So it's kind of this basic understanding that what is your world and what it's about and what is in the world. So speaking about the world itself is like, what is its natural state? Like, so like without any conflict or without any lore in it, like how is your world like? That sounds like a kind of a weird question almost. Like, what do you mean by the natural state? It's a world. There isn't supposed to be some sort of natural state of being, but there kind of is. Like, there's towns, there's people, there's animals, there's critters, what have you. They're all there. They're still around, no matter what. It's like the natural state could be like based off of our own world, where there's um fluctuation in like crime, there's fluctuation in like actual disasters. There's just a lot of things that happen that are perceived as normal everyday things. Like last time you went outside, you probably knew that it was like, oh, it's a sunny day, or it's raining, or it's hot. And you use that as your reminder for like the season overall. Like, oh, it's summer. It's gonna be hot. Like that's always the presumption. And it's kind of like how you would also put towards your world. Because if your world is normally a confined world where everything is at peace, like let's use planet Namek from Dragon Ball Z. Namek is this stable world. It's achieved peace, and if you follow a different canon, as I'll call it, a parody, you'll know that they have their own internal conflicts that's determined by their own things. And that determines a lot about the world. Its natural state is they're peaceful tribes who hold Dragon Balls. That's it. So what is your world like? Is it like how the Nameks have their world? Is it mainly peaceful, or is there war occasionally? Like, how is your world? Like, that is kind of one of the defining things to it. Where its natural state is also a kind of like base template. Like, you could put it as your template almost. Like, oh, the world is peaceful. It tends to be peaceful. Very few conflicts arise over time. Okay. Now we have kind of like your world there. But now, out of its natural state, what is its current state? Like, what's going on in the world right now, where if you were just to plop yourself down, or some random character, or a new perspective, what would they see? What would be the thing? Like, is there like something going on? Is it like over time, certain, let's pretend you have two continents. Actually, let's go with Skyrim for this one. The world of the Elder Scrolls. Is it like Skyrim, where you have the Civil War going on, while the Almari Dominion is like trying to get in there and trying to prolong the war so that they can go in and seize Skyrim from the Empire, or to make the Empire weaker by having most of their soldiers go to Skyrim? It changes everything, because Skyrim is just a Nordic tundric land in the Elder Scrolls world. And the same thing goes for like other places like Morrowind, where Morrowind has been, well, hit by several natural disasters that caused trouble, and it allowed the Argonians to invade during one point in time. That's kind of what I mean by like its current state. Like, is there like something that has happened in the past where it led to something or some groups arise to take action or to cause something to happen? That's what the current state should be referring to. Like, oh, in recent time, king or emissary or what have you, high standard person, was slain by an assassin or was killed by his subordinate. Like, let's just go with that. That would be something important to the current state of the world. And without that being listed in the current state, you kind of have a bit of information missing. If like someone's like, did you hear about this? Like, and it's like only one person out of an entire area speaking about it, and it was just recent. It wouldn't really make sense why only one person out of a whole town to go like, hey, have you heard about this? It was this. I've heard it was like this. And then you go somewhere else and they don't even speak about it. They're like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? You're full of whatever thing you want to say. Like, it wouldn't make sense. But if you had it be common knowledge in the world, for a random person learning about it, getting told like it was like this, and then having another person go like, no, it was so and so attacking so and so, and it makes more sense because that's how civilization actually is. People will mess up information over time. That's the whole point of like how the game Telephone works. Like, information getting passed down through word eventually messes up. So that makes sense if like someone's recounting a scenario that they read in a paper, heard from a friend, heard from a stranger, or got from some sort of news. Like, it makes sense that information would have been lost or would be recounted on, if not for someone carrying like an actual document of said event. So that would change a lot about the world if you actually include some of the current state before you actually implement your characters in. So this doesn't mean anything um if you're kind of just writing a story, like this current state thing. It doesn't have too much merit, but if you're doing something like Dungeons and Dragons or making a game even, this has a lot of merit because it tells you that what people should be able to respond to what scenarios and what should be somewhat of a given at a time. Um, Another thing that should be mentioned about for the world is there any current conflicts? So this is something that I feel like personally, I think it's something that happens a lot that is not addressed. Like, you have the current issues kind of set aside almost. Like, they're not exactly there. So, how should I put it? Like, the main threat is always told, like, oh, it's this, or oh, it's that. It's not much, but you get an idea, you get a taste of what's ahead. So, like, think again to Skyrim or Morrowind or like basically Elder Scrolls. Like, and a good example from them is like when you're tossed in, you kind of have an understanding right off the bat of what's going on. Morrowind, you were a prisoner, now you're going to be a Blades, a member of the Blades. Oblivion, you are thrown into the world where the Mythic Dawn is trying to make an attempt on the Emperor's life, and you are dealing with the Oblivion crisis. Skyrim, you're actually you were running away from something, it's unknown, and you got caught up with a horse thief and the rebellion in the Civil War. And so you learn that Skyrim's politics is that there's a disagreement which is leading to a civil war, or that has led to one. You have this information, and then you have this information that dragons are coming back from either from Ragnar or Rayloff. Like, they both tell you, like, hey, dragons are coming back. Like, they haven't been around for heck, I don't know when. This is big news. We got to get out of here. You know, dragons and the Civil War are two main issues, and they should be addressed. Like, you should have this information and actually be able to assess it and take advantage of it. So these like actual conflicts that are happening at the moment are important enough for a person who is looking down at this, reading it, viewing it, what have you, is enough so that they can understand what's going on in the current state of the world, that is the current conflict that is leading to disaster and such, leading to discord even, you could say. But besides all that, you have like your basic world, like what's going on and how it is. Now, for like things like lore, like if you want to actually go in a little more, you want to apply some lore. Actually, rhyme not intended, actually. Okay, whatever. But like, if you really do want to have something for someone who's reading it or have anything like that, have some lore actually sprinkled in or have it readily available if possible. Like Dungeons and Dragons again, it has that stuff all readily available for you. You already have your bog hags information, Beholder of the Eyes, Gorgons. You have all their information already, and it allows you to actually, or rather someone, actively go in and find this information and use it for whatever they need it for. So like, you're the DM and you want to have a reason why this one Gorgon is actually a pretty decent character. You would use like some reasoning behind like its actual lore, like the context of what it is and what it does, and you would turn that just slightly and where it makes sense, why it would have a little bit of merit, why the Gorgon would be actually a good character and not just this stand-in for a casual person to tell you that something's wrong. So that's why a little bit of context, a little bit of lore would actually help you out in building up certain characters and building up your character races. Or, well, I guess if you are doing sci-fi or fantasy, I guess races is actually like an actual thing, because you got your off-world races, which would come as, let's go Dragon Ball. You have Namekians, you have Earthlings, and you have Saiyans. Those are the main three that you actually see most of the time. You have Krillin, who's human. You have Goku, who is Saiyan. And you have Piccolo, who is Namekian. Like, those three are the main common types. Like, you got Hercule, which is human. Then you have Gohan, who is Saiyan, or Vegeta. Like, it's obvious that they are not of Earth, but they are still treated as a group of people who are off-world. So it makes sense for them to have a little bit of lore of them, like Zenkai Boost, which is when a Saiyan is beaten or almost near death. It doesn't, I guess beaten is kind of like not really the right way to put it, because Krillin blasts a hole in Vegeta's chest, whatever. But it's like, it makes sense that Zenkai Boost would exist, because after Vegeta got brutally beaten on Earth, like, he was much stronger than Kui. It made sense, and much stronger than Dodoria. So, with that in mind, it makes sense for the Zenkai Boost for the Saiyan race. And that's why you should probably have some, like, information behind, like, certain races if you're doing a certain thing. Like, readily available information is, like, for Wood Elves, High Elves, which are from Skyrim, which you can, or, not Skyrim, from the Elder Scrolls. Like, they have readily available information that probably came from, like, another source of information. Like, if you look at it, Wood Elves are actually pretty common. They're used in a lot of stories, and they have a lot of similar things connecting them all together. So, like, you have your Wood Elf from the Elder Scrolls. They have rituals. They're usually archers. They live long. All this information, like, that is very common. The live long, usually good archers, and have rituals and are able to communicate to animals are, like, very common. You go over to Dungeons and Dragons, that's almost a given. You go over to let's go to the world of what is it called? I forgot the world's name, but let's go to Tolkien. Is that what was the series called? Lord of the Rings. There we go. Let's go to the world of Lord of the Rings. You have these Wood Elves who do live long. They tend to be good at archery, and they have their own rituals, and they can communicate to animals pretty well. Like, it's like a given. It's something that is very common and seems to be readily available. But you can start to change that if you want to add your own in a way. Like, give them, like, certain immunities and such. Add more from your world to that race. And when you make your own, you just need at least some sort of background knowledge that is readily available. Like, let's make one up right now. Let's go with some sort of plants people. So I'm gonna go with the guy you probably see on the screen. He's like a leek or a green onion. So let's pretend that these little guys grow near springs and they tend to hover. They are readily eaten because they are confused for other vegetables during the daytime, for that's when they're inactive, or they're more dormant at the time. They tend to sleep during the day and move around at night. So having them being eaten as a common thing shows that they're more of a crop or a herd animal, like cattle or sheep. Like they have some sort of use to people who can take advantage of it, or to a civilization that could take advantage of it. So like if I were to say, like, let's add some more information to it. Let's say the lower half, or where the face is extremely toxic. Well, that would make sense now for them to actually trim off the upper portion, where it actually does look like the green onion, to actually be edible. Like, that is actually edible and people can eat that. Well, it would make more sense in a civilization where they would have multiple of these, grow them, because they are plant people. They can be cultivated. So you have a bunch of them cultivated, and over time, they tend to be, I'm at loss of words right now. I forgot what it's called. Domesticated. There we go. And they've been domesticated, which would probably lead to them having a more, like, not having a sense on their head anymore. Like, they can sense at least light, but they can't feel pain. Like, the nerve endings are all gone. So it makes it easier for people to cut them off and not have them feel pain. Have it where it heals quickly. Like, it would make more reasoning why they are more like farm animals or even regular crops. It would make more sense for that, or a combination of the two. So with that in mind, these onion plant people could actually live on their own out in the wild and within captivation quite easily. And due to their biology of being poisonous and having their top portion being edible, which gives way to, like, other creatures being able to feed off of it due to it being inactive during the day most of the time, which allows it to regrow that back over time, filling up the ecosystem with an extra layer of an extra item in the food chain. Like, they're actually good for the ecosystem in a way, and they're good for civilization as well. It's just an example of something that could exist within a world and not have too many problems within that world. And it can lead to actually multiple interesting interactions whenever it is encountered with. So that's just like the onion people, the onion plant people I just made. But for you can figure out whatever you want for your own characters and whatever you want of them. And with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and end this. Hopefully, if you guys like this, I'll make another one. And I'll continue on going with the idea of how to make more along the lines of the characters or civilization as a whole. So, yeah, thank you for listening if you have. And thank you for bearing with the new audio, how it sounds. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue using this area as a viable spot for recording. And if anything, I could probably modify it to be more receptive than anything. But right now, this is the best recording spot I have now. And ain't gonna lie, it's pretty comfy in here too. But anyways, thank you guys for listening to me talk about lore and world building. I love this stuff. It's something that I love about all worlds in games, and even in stories and movies. Like, lore is just like what makes, it's like the backbone. It's like the very basics that you need to have for anything. Like, seriously, like, you look at Warframe's lore, it's pretty complex, but it's understandable. You look at Elder Scrolls, that is just something amazing, and it's great. I mean, there's just a lot, and it's a lot in the sense where it's understandable. Someone who has the time can read it and understand it. And that's what I love about lore. It's very interesting and it keeps people like interested in these worlds and to even make their own. So thank you guys for, again, letting me talk about lore and listening to it. And hopefully you guys have a good one.